He said, I never wanted a child as I held our newborn. One of the happiest moments of my life was shattered in an instant. I was holding our newborn for the first time, looking down at this tiny human that we created together. I felt this overwhelming rush of love, a bond I can't really put into words. I was ready to give everything for this child. I should have been basking in the joy of this miracle, but instead, his words hit me like a slap. I never wanted a child. Those words just hung in the air between us. It was like the room froze. I looked at him, at the baby, at his face, and then back at the baby. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to feel like this. How could he say something like that now, of all times? My heart just broke in a way I can't even describe. It felt like the perfect picture of our family that I was clinging onto, just shattered into 1,000 pieces in front of me. I swear, my body went numb. I couldn't process it. I kept staring at him, trying to figure out if he was serious. Was he joking? Was this some kind of twisted joke? It wasn't funny, and that cold look in his eyes made it clear it wasn't a joke. I looked down at our baby, this innocent little soul that I was supposed to protect, that we were supposed to love together. And I felt lost. How could this baby, this pure thing, be unwanted? I felt a wave of disbelief flood over me. How could he feel this way? How could I not have known? A rush of emotions flooded me: anger, confusion, hurt. I should have felt joy, but all I could feel was pain. His words kept echoing in my mind. I never wanted a child, and every time I heard them in my head, it hurt more. It hurt because it was so cold, so final, like I was the only one who'd ever wanted this. And the truth that he didn't, it tore me apart. I couldn't stop thinking about it. For the next few days, I kept replaying those words in my head, over and over again. How had I missed the signs? Was I blind to all the little hints? The way he would avoid talking about the future? The way he seemed distant whenever the topic of kids came up? Was it all just there, and I was too focused on my own dreams to see it? I felt stupid, foolish even. I thought we were in this together. I thought we were building a life, a family. But now, everything felt like a lie. I couldn't look at him the same way anymore. The conversations we had, the promises we made, they were all tainted. I began questioning everything. Was he ever really in it? Did he resent me for getting pregnant? Did he resent me for bringing this child into the world? I couldn't escape it. The weight of his confession hung over me, and I couldn't shake it off. What was I supposed to do? How was I supposed to move forward after that? How could I even trust him again? Every time I thought about confronting him, I was flooded with doubt. Maybe it was better to just pretend like it didn't happen. But how could I? How could I just go on as if everything was okay? He had just destroyed the foundation of everything we had built. But what if he really felt that way? What if he never wanted this? What if the whole time he was just pretending? I found myself torn between what I wanted, what I thought was a family, and the reality of what he had just told me. How could I raise a child in a home where one parent didn't even want them? I kept battling with myself, unsure of what to do next. Should I try to fix this? Or should I walk away? But I couldn't walk away from the child. No matter what, I couldn't give up on them. The future, the life we had planned, it felt like it was slipping through my fingers, and I didn't know what to hold onto anymore. That moment, that one conversation, that one sentence, it completely changed everything. The truth I had been blind to was finally out there, and it felt like the ground beneath me just disappeared. I thought we were on the same page, that we both wanted a family. We talked about it so many times, our plans, our dreams for the future. But now, I'm wondering if I was just living in some fantasy. How did I miss this? I can't stop thinking about it. Did he hide his true feelings from me the whole time? How could he say something like that? Was I just too caught up in the idea of becoming a parent to see the truth? I think back to the days before we found out I was pregnant. He seemed so supportive. He seemed happy. But now, I'm not so sure. Was he just pretending? Was he just saying what he thought I wanted to hear? I keep asking myself, was I blind to all of this? Maybe I didn't want to see it. Maybe I was too focused on the future we were supposed to have to notice that he wasn't really in it with me. Maybe I was so desperate for this family to be real that I missed every sign that it wasn't. And now, all I have is this child and a relationship that feels like it's already over. The pain is deep. It's not just the shock of his words, but the realization that something I thought was solid, something I thought we had built together, was built on lies. I'm heartbroken. I want to be angry, but all I feel is this overwhelming sadness. How could someone I trusted so deeply feel this way about our child? About me? Every time I look at my baby, I'm flooded with guilt. I wonder if I made a mistake bringing this little one into the world. Is this a life that they deserve? One that is clouded by resentment, by a parent who doesn't even want them. I don't know what to feel anymore. And then there's the anger. How could he do this? How could he say something like that? Doesn't he understand how much this hurts? Doesn't he see how his words are cutting me to the bone? I thought he loved me, that we were building a life together. But now it's like everything we ever dreamed of is just gone. His words echo in my head, and every time I think of them, it just hurts more. I feel like I've been betrayed, not just by him, but by everything I thought I knew. We started off strong, you know? We clicked right away. There was a connection between us that felt effortless. We both wanted the same things: love, a family, a future together. We talk about our plans, where we'd live, what we'd do when we were older. I always thought we were building something solid, something that would last. There were never any major red flags. He was my rock, my partner in every sense of the word, or at least, that's what I thought. When we talked about kids, it was always in the future. We had dreams of our own little family playing in the park, family dinners, all that. I thought we were both on the same page. We both wanted this. We were ready. At least, I thought we were. It was more than just love. It was a deep connection that I thought nothing could break. He was my partner. We'd been through tough times together, supported each other through thick and thin. We shared so much. I trusted him with everything. There were nights we stayed up talking for hours, dreaming about what our life would look like. It felt real. It felt right. When I found out I was pregnant, he was there for me, comforting me, telling me everything was going to be okay. It was a moment that brought us even closer, or at least that's what I thought. I thought this was a step forward, something we both wanted. The way he looked at me, the way he held me, it felt like everything was falling into place. But looking back, there were signs I ignored. I remember him getting quiet when we talk about the future. His eyes would drift, and there would be a hesitancy in his voice when we talk about kids. It wasn't always obvious, but now it's all I can see. There were moments when he'd talk about how life would be easier without responsibilities. He'd joke about it, but I should have seen the truth in those jokes. There was also the way he'd avoid conversations about our future. He'd always change the topic, as if he didn't want to picture a life with kids. I dismissed it then, as just him being unsure, but now, I realize he was avoiding the truth. He didn't want this. He didn't want the family I thought we were going to have. And then there were the things we never said. The silence between us was sometimes louder than anything. He never outright said he didn't want a child. He never told me how he really felt about having kids, about being a parent. He assumed I was on the same page, but I never asked. Maybe I didn't want to know. Maybe I was too afraid to push him, afraid of hearing something I didn't want to hear. The more I think about it, the more I realize that the silence spoke volumes. He never shared his real feelings, and I never pushed him to. I assumed everything would work out. But now, I wish I had asked. I wish I had seen the signs, asked the hard questions. If I had, maybe things wouldn't have ended up this way. Maybe I wouldn't be sitting here, questioning everything. The cracks started to show. Slowly, but they were there. I noticed it in his eyes, in the way he'd avoid holding the baby or even looking at them for too long. At first, I told myself it was just stress, just him trying to adjust to being a father. But deep down, I knew there was something more. The distance between us was growing, and I didn't know how to bridge it. The more time went on, the more I felt it. Our conversations grew shorter, our connection grew colder. He was emotionally distant, and it felt like I was living with a stranger. The person I had built my life with, the person I had trusted, was no longer the same. It felt like he was slipping away, and no matter how much I tried, I couldn't bring him back. I was scared. Scared of being alone, scared of raising our child without him by my side. The doubts started creeping in. Slow at first, but then faster as the days went on. I kept asking myself if this was all a mistake. Was our love real? Or was it just something I built up in my mind? Something I wanted to believe? As I looked at my baby, I felt more and more isolated. This child deserved a family, a home filled with love. But I couldn't give that to them if he wasn't all in. I tried to pretend everything was okay, tried to hold on to the hope that things would get better, but it wasn't working. The worst part was the loneliness. I was raising our child alone, even with him sitting right next to me. Every day felt like a battle between wanting to hold on to the life we once had and the reality of what it was becoming. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him how much it hurt, but the words never came out. Instead, I just kept going through the motions, hoping it would all magically fix itself. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't. The more time passed, the more I realized the trust between us was slipping away. What we had once built seemed to crumble with every passing day. The trust I had in him, the one thing that had made us strong as a couple, was no longer there. I kept replaying our past conversations, looking for signs I had missed. I couldn't stop thinking, was he always like this? And I just ignored it. The smallest things set me off now. He would barely acknowledge our baby, and when he did, it was almost like he was going through the motions. I started questioning everything. Was he always going to be this distant? Was I just fooling myself, thinking we could make this work? I began to feel like I was carrying the weight of this relationship alone, like it was all on me to hold it together. And the worst part was, I couldn't talk to him about it without feeling like he would shut down. So, I kept my thoughts to myself, but inside, everything was breaking apart. It started with little things, small lies that didn't seem like much at first, but once they added up, they started to paint a very different picture. The first lie wasn't about the baby, but it felt like it. It was about his schedule, where he was going, who he was with. I started noticing things didn't add up. When I asked him about it, he would brush it off, make excuses, and sometimes even turn it around on me, making me feel paranoid. I hated myself for questioning him, but I couldn't help it. I couldn't ignore the growing sense of unease. The promises he made to me, the ones we shared about being a family, they seemed to be nothing more than empty words. The more I tried to believe him, the more I saw the cracks in his honesty. I couldn't escape the feeling that he wasn't telling me everything, and that in itself felt like another betrayal. It wasn't just a baby anymore, it was everything. everything we had built together. The worst part was how he started twisting things. He'd make me feel like I was the one with the problem. Like I was imagining things. I would ask him about the distance between us, about the things he wasn't doing for our baby, and he'd turn it around on me. He'd say things like, "Why are you always so negative? I can't do anything right. Can I?" It was like I couldn't win. There were times when I thought I was going crazy. He would make me doubt my own feelings, my own reality. I started questioning everything. My instincts, my emotions, my thoughts. Was I just overreacting? Was I being too sensitive? I wanted to scream at him, to tell him how manipulative he was being. But I didn't know how to break free from this twisted cycle. I was so wrapped up in his gaslighting, in his ability to make me feel small, that I couldn't see how to get out of it. I felt him slipping away more each day. The emotional gap between us grew wider and wider. I would try to talk to him, to get him to open up about what was happening, but he just shut down. There were no more late-night talks, no more dreams about our future. All of that was replaced with silence and avoidance. Every time he came home, it felt like he was a stranger to me. I couldn't even talk to him about the baby without it feeling forced. There was no warmth left. I kept asking myself if this was what my life was going to be, living with someone who didn't care, who wasn't invested in our family. I tried to hold on to the love we had, but it was slipping through my fingers like sand. Every moment we spent together felt more like a reminder that we were just going through the motions. And I started to wonder, what was the point? What was the point of holding on when the other person wasn't even trying? I couldn't do it anymore. The silence, the lies, the emotional distance, it was eating me alive. I finally reached my breaking point. I had to know what was going on. I had to confront him. I looked at him, holding back the tears, and asked, "Why did you say you never wanted a child?" The words came out before I could stop them. "Why did you say that? And why does it feel like you don't care about this family anymore?" It felt like everything I had been holding inside was finally bursting out. I wasn't going to hold it in anymore. His eyes avoided mine like he couldn't look at me. The moment was heavy with the weight of everything that had been left unsaid. And then, his words hit me again, harder than before. "I don't know what you want from me. You've got this baby, but where does that leave me? I didn't ask for this." His words were like a knife in my chest. I didn't ask for this. That's all he had to say about the life we were building. All this time, I thought we were in this together, but now, it felt like everything I had worked for, everything I believed in, was just a joke to him. The pain of realizing that he never wanted this child hit me like a wave. It wasn't just about him not wanting the baby, it was about everything. His indifference, his emotional abandonment. It was like he wasn't even the person I had fallen in love with anymore. I couldn't look at him the same way. The person I trusted the most was now a stranger to me. And the worst part was, I didn't even know who I was anymore. I had given so much of myself to this relationship, to this family, and now I was left, questioning my worth, questioning everything I thought I knew about us. Trust, what little of it was left, completely shattered. It was over. I could feel it in every part of my being. The trust that had once held us together was gone. His actions, his words, his refusal to even try, it all pointed to one thing. He wasn't invested in us. He wasn't invested in me, and he certainly wasn't invested in our baby. The foundation of our relationship was cracked beyond repair. There was no coming back from this. No matter how hard I tried to hold on to what we once had, it wasn't there anymore. And deep down, I knew it. He didn't care anymore, and I wasn't sure if I did either. I couldn't keep living a lie. The dream of a perfect family I had held onto for so long was gone, and as I sat there, trying to hold it together, I realized that I had to let go. I had to let go of the love I thought we had, the family I thought we would be. I was a mess. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, heartbreak, guilt, it was all tangled up inside of me. I wanted to scream at him, tell him how much he had hurt me, how much his betrayal cut me deep. But I didn't know if I had the strength to do that. The emotional chaos was overwhelming. I couldn't even process it all. One moment I was furious, the next I was heartbroken. I wanted to hate him for what he had done, for what he had said, but I couldn't. There was a part of me that still loved him, even after everything. I didn't know where to go from here. How could I move on from this? How could I raise our child in a home where trust was gone, where love felt like a distant memory? The confusion, the pain, it was suffocating. And no matter how hard I tried to hold it all together, it felt like I was falling apart. After everything exploded, after the confrontation and the truth came out, I was left picking up the pieces. The aftermath was brutal. There was no easy way to deal with the fact that my entire life had been built on a lie. And worse, that lie involved my child. I couldn't ignore the consequences. The trust we had shared, the love we once had, it was all destroyed. And I had to face the fact that nothing would ever be the same again. I questioned myself constantly. Was I wrong to believe in him? Was I foolish to think we had something real? I couldn't escape the feeling that I had been played, that everything I had given had been thrown back in my face. The pain was raw, and it didn't go away. Every day was a reminder that I had to rebuild everything. Everything, my trust, my confidence, my future. And I didn't know how to start. The regret was overwhelming. There were days when I wondered if I had made a huge mistake. Was this child better off without him? What kind of family could I give? them if I didn't even have the strength to keep my own life together. I mourned what we could have been, the life we could have built together. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the life we had planned didn't exist. That was a dream, not reality. My child deserved more than this broken mess. They deserved better than two parents who couldn't even be on the same page, who couldn't even be honest with each other. The guilt, the heartbreak, it was suffocating. But through it all, I had to remind myself that I was doing this for them. I couldn't let my hurt define their future. I had to be strong, even when I didn't know how. The days following the confrontation felt like a blur. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to make sense of it all. I didn't know what to do next. I felt completely lost. The person I had trusted, the one I thought I was building a future with, had just shattered everything. I couldn't understand how someone could be so cold, so detached, especially when it came to a child. I withdrew into myself. I didn't talk to anyone about what happened, because I didn't even know where to start. I kept my distance, tried to focus on the baby, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of betrayal. It was like a weight I couldn't lift. I spent sleepless nights wondering how to fix things, how to make things right again. But every time I looked at him, I was reminded of the words he said, of the coldness in his eyes. I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't pretend that everything was okay when it clearly wasn't. I felt like I was drowning in my own emotions, suffocating in regret and confusion, and I hated myself for not seeing the signs earlier. I hated myself for not protecting my heart. But most of all, I hated the fact that this beautiful child, this innocent soul, would now grow up in a broken home. The truth had come out, and now I had to face the consequences. Our relationship was broken, and no matter how much I tried to fix it, I couldn't put the pieces back together. The trust, the love, it was all gone. And now, I had to figure out how to navigate life as a single parent, with a partner who didn't want to be part of our family. I felt the weight of responsibility fall solely on me. It wasn't just about dealing with the hurt from the betrayal, it was about figuring out how to rebuild my life, how to raise our child without him by my side. I looked at my baby, and it was like a punch in the stomach. This child deserved better than this. I had dreams of a family, of raising our child together, but now those dreams seemed so distant. The reality was that I had to do this alone. But how could I? How could I carry this burden on my own when I was already drowning in emotional pain? I felt so small, so broken, and so utterly lost. There was no roadmap for this. I had no idea how to move forward from here. I don't know how I did it, but every day I tried. I had to. The baby needed me. It wasn't just about me anymore. Every time I looked at my little one, I found a little bit of strength, a reason to keep going. But it wasn't easy. Some days felt like I was taking one step forward and two steps back. I tried to keep everything together, to pretend like I wasn't falling apart, but the truth was, I was barely holding on. I thought I could move on from the hurt, that I could just let it go and keep going for the sake of our child. But the anger, the betrayal, it wasn't something that could just be swept under the rug. Every time I had to see him, every time I had to speak to him, the pain would rise again. I kept my distance, focused on what needed to be done. I found comfort in the small victories, feeding my baby, getting through the day, watching them sleep peacefully. But it was still so hard, and I still didn't know if I was ever going to heal from this. Over time, something shifted. It wasn't a dramatic moment or a sudden epiphany. It was slow and painful. But eventually, I realized that I couldn't keep holding on to the past. I couldn't keep trying to force something that was never going to work. I had to let go. Let go of the idea that we would ever be the family I dreamed of. Let go of the hope that he would ever change, that he would ever want to be part of this life. Let go of the belief that somehow everything would go back to normal. It wasn't easy. It wasn't something I wanted to do. But for my own peace of mind, I had to accept the reality of what was happening. I had to let go of the hurt and stop holding onto the broken pieces. Letting go didn't mean forgetting, but it meant choosing to move forward, even if I didn't know what the future held. I wasn't ready to forgive him. Not yet. But I was ready to take control of my own life. It wasn't about him anymore. It was about me. And more importantly, it was about my child. I couldn't control what he did, but I could control how I moved forward, and that was what mattered. I've learned a lot through all of this, and even though it's been one of the hardest things I've ever been through, I know it's made me stronger. There's something incredibly humbling about going through the kind of heartbreak I've experienced, and still finding a way to rise from it. I've learned that I'm capable of more than I thought. I can handle things on my own. I can raise my child with love and strength, even if I have to do it alone. I've learned that my self-worth isn't tied to anyone else's actions or opinions. The betrayal, the hurt, all of it, it was a reminder that I can't rely on anyone else for my happiness or my sense of self. I have to be strong for myself first. And that strength is something I never even knew I had. I've also learned that healing isn't linear. There are days when I feel okay, and then there are days when the pain comes crashing back. But I know that's part of the process. And I've learned to give myself grace during those moments, instead of beating myself up. At the end of the day, I'm still standing, I'm still here, and I'm doing the best I can. That's all I can do, and that's enough. I've also learned that it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel betrayed. It's okay to feel lost. All of those feelings are valid, and I don't need to hide them. For so long, I tried to push them down, tried to ignore the anger and the sadness, But I've realized that those emotions are a part of me, and I can't just bury them. I've learned to accept them, to sit with them, and to let them pass when they need to. That's part of the healing process too. I've learned to trust myself again. I thought I had made a mistake by trusting him, by letting him into my heart. But I've realized that wasn't the mistake. The mistake was thinking that I had to stay in a relationship that wasn't healthy for me or for my child. Trusting myself now is about knowing that I deserve more than that. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm getting there, and that's what matters. It's about progress, not perfection. I'm learning to embrace who I am, flaws and all, and to build a future that's better than the one I thought I would have. If there's one thing I want people to take away from this, it's that betrayal doesn't define you. It doesn't have to ruin your future. It may take time, but you can rebuild. You can find yourself again, even after everything falls apart. What happened to me was painful, yes, but it's also been a lesson in self-worth and resilience. I've learned that no one, not even the person you love the most, should have the power to strip you of your sense of self. In the end, the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. If you can trust yourself, if you can believe in your own strength, then nothing and no one can ever take that from you. I've learned to put my energy into the things that matter: my child, my happiness, my peace of mind. I've stopped focusing on the things I can't control. I can't control him, his feelings, or his actions. But I can control how I react, how I move forward, and how I choose to heal. That's the lesson I've learned. And maybe, just maybe, it's the most valuable lesson I could ever learn. I know now that I won't make the same mistake again. I won't allow myself to fall into a place where I'm willing to accept less than I deserve. I won't let anyone make me feel like I'm not enough. I've learned that I am enough, exactly as I am. If you're going through something similar, I want you to know that it's okay to feel broken. It's okay to feel lost. But you are not broken forever. You can rebuild. You can find strength even when you think it's all gone. And if you're struggling to move forward, know that it's okay to take your time. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. And it's different for everyone. But you will get there. You will heal. You just have to keep going, even when it feels impossible. You have to trust yourself. Because in the end, the only person who can truly heal you is you. And I believe in you. If you've resonated with this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's create a space for healing together. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, because sometimes the most painful truths are the ones we need to hear the most.